Previously on Ugly Paul's Garage. We finally installed the Mustang cam phasers and timed the engine properly. On today's episode, we're going to get this engine buttoned back up and tackle a few little odds and ends along the way. Okay, so before we get this thing buttoned up, let's put on that windage tray we got from the Coyote motor at the junkyard. So first we're just cleaning up the mating face on the block, so you get a nice smooth clean face to mount the gasket to, and you don't get any of that crud in your engine. And make sure you cover up the internal so it doesn't fall in. And we want to scrape all that corrosion and dirt off there. And same thing for the windage tray, we want to clean that up too.
Just digging out old RTV. Never used. Perfect.
Doesn't have to go all the way around.
It does, but not right now. Well, I could put it on, I suppose.
No, I mean all the way around the...
No. That's a misconception. The gasket is meant to seal by itself. It's got these raised rubber tracks. It's just raised up, and that, as you squeeze that, that's what seals. And that goes on like that. Okay. Pick up tube.
Before we put it on, you were going to check the dipstick tube.
Oh yeah, you're right, I forgot about that.
So if you remember from a few episodes ago, the valve cover on this engine was cracked and the dipstick tube broke off, and a few plastic pieces fell back down into the hole, and we blew it out with compressed air and we tried to poke it out. Okay. Now we got this handy little camera that we can go in and we can verify that there's nothing left up there.
Yep, she's clean. Oh yeah, she's clean.
Like Ugly Paul was saying, there's a gasket integrated into the windage tray itself, so we don't have to put RTV around the whole thing. But there are a few places where we want to put RTV where either the gasket doesn't cover or there's a surface that could be a leak path. Specifically on the front between the block, the timing cover, and the oil pan, we want to get some RTV in there for sure. This one here is 18 foot-pounds or 25 Newton meters.
So I got
89 inch-pounds plus 45.
With a lever. $45 and $45. 18 inch-pounds, then 89, and then 45 degrees. 1.5.
And just keep in mind that there is a proper torque sequence for these bolts. I'll throw it up on the screen here. Make sure you torque them in that order on both stages. Feel free to pause the video if you need to. And just like we did with the block before we put the windage tray on, we're just cleaning up the timing cover a little bit, trying to get all the crud and corrosion and leftover sealant off there before we put it back on the engine. And there's rubber gaskets that go into those little notches, and we're reinserting those.
A little bit of RTV in here.
And we're putting some RTV into the ends of the grooves there just so nothing can leak out.
Let it do what it wants to do. Stick that in there. That's how that goes. Like that. There we go. All right. Remember what bolts will work?
No.
Me either. Right.
Exhaust.
Exhaust. Right intake. Just going to snug them up here for a minute. We can torque them after. That's the one. That's got to go to 18 foot-pounds of torque.
The torque sequence is a little bit more complicated for the timing cover. For the bolts on the front face, we're going to tighten them to 25 Newton meters or 18 foot-pounds. And for the ones on the bottom, they'll be the same as the oil pan, which is 10 Newton meters or 89 inch-pounds. And again, I'll throw up the torque sequence. Make sure you do them in this order.
$14,
15.
15. Okay. And then this one.
Yeah.
And then 45, 60. 60.
And for stage 2, we're going to give the bolts on the front face an extra 60 degrees. And for the bolts on the bottom, on the oil pan, we're going to give them an extra 45 degrees.
And 60.
Bottom ones get 45.
45. 45. 45. 45. 45.
So I only have the footage for one valve cover, but the other one is going to be exactly the same. So there's only one stage for this one, and I'll throw up the torque sequence on the screen again. So now that we got timing cover on, we can reinstall the water pump. First, we're putting a little bit of oil around the O-ring just to make sure you get a nice tight seal. And then you kind of just line it up and torque it down. As far as I could find, there's no particular sequence for these bolts, so I guess it doesn't matter what order you do the bolts in, just make sure you torque them to the correct spec. And now we're getting ready to put the balancer back on, putting a little bit of oil in it first, just so it can slide on easier. And these are sort of a press fit. They're keyed and they're bolted on, but it's very tight, so you have to give it a little bit of persuasion. And once we got it a little bit on the shaft, then we can use the crank bolt and a couple washers to sort of pull it all the way down onto the shaft. And once we feel that bolt bottom out and the crank starts turning, we know that it's all the way in as far as it can go. And there's a torque procedure for this as well. Unfortunately, we didn't have any way of stopping the engine from rotating at this time, so we figured we'd punt on that and do it a little bit later. Later on, you'll see we wrote a little note to ourselves that the balancer isn't torqued, so we don't forget, because that's not something you want to have come loose on you.
Wow. That's incredible.
And when we went to put the alternator back on, we found that it was totally seized up. So now we're putting it on the bench and taking it apart, trying to see what the issue is. So we didn't have to take it apart completely, but once we tore it down enough, we found that, I guess, it kind of freed up the rotating assembly inside, I guess. I don't know what you call it. And we got it to turn, but you could hear and feel that something inside was rubbing.
Ooh. Something's rubbing in there. Well, let's put it back together for now. What do you say?
I just want to put it on the engine and lock it up.
Yeah.
So we ended up punting on that one too and just putting it back on the engine for now. Not sure yet what we're going to do with it. But anyway, we've got the engine back together, and I think that's a good place to end for today. Kind of a short episode, I know, but I think it makes sense in the grand scheme of things. So that's all for now. On the next episode of Ugly Paul's Garage, we start tackling the power steering system, and we have a few fun adventures with that as well. But that's it for this one. Thank you again for watching. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Or don't. But all your friends are doing it. Don't you want to be cool? Like your friends? Anyway, that's it. Stay ugly, my friends.